Hi, my name is Anna Fernandez and my KC number is 48840.
Hi, my name is Diana Lynn Androni and my KC number is 47891.
And this is our voice assessment.
So what did you struggle with in radio when having to use different quality to your voice?
I feel like for me, in radio specifically, was finding that different quality because I feel my voice can be really monochrome, like there's not much colour to it. It doesn't... Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And because I had chosen to do children's audiobook, I had to find some colour in my voice in order to be able to find a voice that was appealing to children, that children would want to hear when they're listening to their audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I feel that an exercise that really helped me achieve that was Barbara Hausman's spinal roll exercise, because I feel that that really, it allowed me to connect with my muscles and it allowed me to relax my muscles as well, which then allowed it to be easier to engage with my diaphragm and change the resonators in my mouth in order to achieve the voice that I needed to achieve.
Yeah, I think it's because it was so plain. You wanted a roller coaster like.
Yes.
With colour and everything. Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. For me, I did advertisement, and I think it's the same thing. Finding the roller coaster voice, because obviously I'm trying to sell something, a product or whatever. So obviously, to be clear, it was hard, and obviously because it was a radio, it was very closed and it felt monotoned, you know. And to find the excitement and the thrill of selling this product, it was hard for me. And by doing the spine rolls and relaxing all my muscles, including body muscles, facial, tongue, everything, it did help me before my takes on the radio assessment.
Yes. Would you like to demonstrate the spinal roll?
Yes, but before that, I do want to say as well, by the voice, the copying of the voice in Louis' assessment, I think that was a struggle for me as well. It just kind of links with this kind of changing quality to your voice. I found it mostly difficult to maintain it rather than doing it, because doing it was okay for me, but maintaining the voice and finding the pitches and the tones and the way that breaths, for example, taking the same breaths all the time when she took breaths, my friend, it was so difficult, especially that she had a different accent than me. You know, my accent is not like, oh yeah, she's Romanian or British or whatever. It's a mix of an accent and especially slang. So it's hard for me to speak like her because she speaks very, not posh, not necessarily posh, but proper English. So it was a big challenge for me as well, just to sustain it overall.
Yeah. I mean, for that assessment, I chose my manager, who has basically been brought up in different areas of England, and her accent, like yours, is very mixed.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily that I couldn't get her accent, but she did have different ways of pronunciating words. So, for instance, we say opinion, and she will say opinion, so she'd emphasize on the I. And there was quite a few words in the recording that she done for me that were very different to how we speak, and her voice really resonates at the back of her throat, whereas mine is pretty at the front of my mouth.
On the tip, yeah.
So achieving that sound from the back of my mouth was a really big challenge for me. But I feel like what helped me with that was the spinal rolls and then the sirening, because then I was engaging. I was engaging
different areas
of my body in order to get the result that I wanted to get. Yeah.
So should we demonstrate this? I'll do it on you. Normally it's better if you do it with partners. So, okay, relax your body, stay neutral, bend your knees, drop your head. So, normally you would just drop vertebra by vertebra and just let it all out. Make sure that the head is loose. And normally before every assessment or show, I would normally do this with a partner if I have time for like 30 minutes. And by that time, your alignment is just different and better. Can you do 8 shapes with your body? That's it. Drop your head. Can you make sounds? Relax your muscles. That's it. And you would massage the arms and everything, the legs, pat down, rub for warmth. And now just come up slowly, leaving your head to be the last thing that comes up. Make sure you bend the knees, sorry. Be relaxed. And you just pick up the head and make sure that the body is straight. And you would have to make them walk for a little bit. come back to you. And straightforward, as you can see, like the moment that you sit down, your posture
Your
is just
posture changes
different.
completely.
And like I was thinking about it as well, like you know what, because you're in the radio, for example, and you're recording, you feel like it's an intimate space, but people still feel the power of the voice.
Yes.
You know, you don't have to project, for example. You just have to do this, and your body is more open. Your chest is more freer.
Yes, and 100%, because now that you've engaged every muscle in your body, you're able to control how much you're projecting. Because when you are in a tiny space and you've done this, you misjudge how powerful your voice can be. So by doing this, you're already engaging your diaphragm and you've opened up your chest cavities in order to be able to speak as freely as you can. And I feel like because of that, you can then tone down how much you're projecting if necessary, because you are in an intimate space with just a microphone in a soundproof room. So by projecting really loudly, well, there wouldn't really be any point in that, because
you lose the quality of the word, don't you?
Yes,
especially in radio.
You get lost in your own words, because then you suddenly become in yourself, because you know that you're projecting so much in such a tiny space that all you can hear is your voice.
Yeah, but this exercise, it gives the same effect. You know, even if you want to project or you don't want to project, but have a more powerful voice and sound.
Because it opens up all them cavities that you need opened in order to give that quality of voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what else did you struggle with when it came to classical work?
Oh, when it came to classical work, understanding the text was definitely one of the most hardest things I went through.
And important,
Yeah, and it is very important to me, and I think Diana would agree, was it felt like a complete different language.
Yeah.
And I feel that articulation was the one thing I struggled with the most when it came to classical, because I did have to. It was as if learning a new language, and already in my English, my everyday language, I drop a lot of my of my words at the end.
You're lazy with your speech.
Yeah,
I get that.
And I couldn't afford to do that with classical, because majority of the time when people come to watch a classical piece, they either do know what is happening or they don't know what's happening.
That's mainly because the language is so heightened, you know, and you have to articulate and be clear, and your diction has to be on point for them to be understanding what you're saying. And like you said, you know, understanding the text is an important thing, but delivering it's something else. You know, you need to be clear what you're saying. And I did for classical, I did my Shakespeare, you know, and comparing that to our piece that we did together, I could feed off you, even though we were speaking in RP, well, trying to anyway. I could feed off you, whereas in my Shakespeare, I was speaking a monologue, so I couldn't feed off anyone. I understood the text at the end, but it's just pronouncing every single word and not dropping out any of the letters and keeping it up and sustained. It was so hard for me, but then I think at the end, I did manage to do an okay job. It was just putting all the work and effort to it. It was hard for me.
Really, really hard. Oh, yeah. I think in terms of the articulation, one thing that really helped me with that was the iambic pentameter.
Yeah.
Because with classical text, there is always a rhythm in everything that you say. And I was really struggling to get into that rhythm. So what helped me was, instead of going dee-dum, 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 I would find another way of walking around the space without making the sounds, but still feeling the beat. Yeah, still feeling the beat in my bones in order to get myself into that rhythm. And then eventually, when getting into that beat, I would then apply the text to the beat, and then I would start to notice where the words that needed to be stressed were, and how to stress them, and what to emphasize on, and what was getting lost in order to work on that, so I wouldn't lose the word or drop the end of my sentences.
Yeah, for example, for me, instead of clapping, for me to stress every word, I would stamp it out or make a beat out of it, so for me to engage with it and understand it. Because at the beginning, I didn't understand the whole idea of pentameter. Yes, I did understand that Shakespeare has verses and you have to speak in a certain way, but to understand it fully by tapping and engaging your body and the rhythm with the text, I think it was really helpful. And like you just said, stressing every word. For my not my dissertation, for my FMP, yes, literally the text was not complicated, but because it was chunky in so many ways, and it was feeding off another person, so I would always lose the last word, I would just drop the sentence, which I did realize throughout the rehearsal process. So what we was doing is just trying to iamb the pentameter every single time before, like, or section by section, you know. And you just, even though it's not rhythmic the way we were doing it, at some points it gave us another view of the text, and it made more sense. It brought it color, you know, and roller coaster like quality.
I think what also really helped me with the classical work was, and with the articulation in general, was tongue twisters. Because like I already said, I do tend to swallow the majority of my words, and especially when it comes to, like, I won't emphasize on every letter that's in the word, and I felt like that was really important when it came to classical text, because you need to make sure that you're saying everything that is written in order for your point to make sense. So tongue twisters really helped me with that, because I was emphasizing on letters that I wouldn't usually think to emphasize if I wasn't doing it.
You exercise your tongue, don't you?
Yes.
So you help.
Yeah, so for instance, Peter Piper, that really helped me by really emphasizing on the P's. Although P's are not necessarily a letter that I would say I struggle with a lot in emphasizing, I think those would be more my T's and my S's.
It still helps with the structure,
doesn't it? It still helped with the structure and making sure that I got into the habit of saying every letter that was there. So I'm just going to do a quick demonstration with Diana of what Peter Piper is. Ready?
Yes.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Now what really helped me with that is, after getting into the flow of Peter Piper and knowing every word of the tongue twister, it was really making sure that I was throwing out them P's, I was spitting them out, and that I really emphasised on them, so it was easier to then take that energy into another word and emphasise on the letters that I had to emphasise on. So for instance, I then turned my Peter Piper into Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, and that really helped get in the flow of making sure that I was saying every letter that was in the word.
I think the same thing with Peter Piper, but because my articulation is not as strong, and I do find this kind of exercise is hard, what I learned is how much air you're using for every letter, for example. So I tried the alphabet, so for example like F's, right? So you can hear the difference between how much air I'm releasing, and by covering your mouth you feel it as well, because if you're saying, you don't know how much air you're putting out. But if you try it with me, if you put your hand here and you say, now try to release less air but with the same impact. Do you feel the difference?
Yes, it's a lot easier to sustain the F for longer.
And because if you give too much air, after let's say a couple of seconds, your body tells you, I don't have enough breath, take another breath. Which in fact you normally have more breath than you think you do, which is true. But even when you're trying to speak, and you can hear that in your mind is like, I don't have enough breath, so I need to say this sentence quickly, and then I forget the line and everything. It's just it's just getting complicated. But if you understand the breath and how to use it in certain sentences, for example, even a short sentence, you just need to have enough breath for a short sentence and a long sentence to make sense and to have an impact to the audience, you know? Shall we go to the next?
Yes.
Was breathing something you struggled with in any of your work?
So going off of what you said with the F's, how much breath intake I took I was really struggling with that. So in my FMP, in my duologue with my other colleague, it was very like bouncing off of each other. It was really, really quick, and I found that a lot of the times I was taking either too much breath, which then made me sound too breathy, or not enough breath, which then I'd run out of breath before I'd ended my sentence, and then I'd be really high pitched and squeaky, which is not favourable because no one will understand what you're saying. So I definitely feel like an exercise that helped me with that was the 1 2 3 4 5 song, which
it has a rhythm. And
it has a rhythm, and you notice whilst you're singing it, you notice how much breath you're taking in between each take, which then allows you to control how much you're actually using in a sentence, because then you kind of take your text and you turn it into your own rhythm, not such an obvious rhythm,
singing rhythm,
but a rhythm that you know, this is how much breath I need and this is how much breath I don't need, and that you get to control.
You find the balance, don't you?
Yeah, you find the balance between how much you need and how much you don't need.
I think for this, with me, for my dissertation, I did 4 different acts with 4 different characters that had different accents. Now, accent, I don't find it necessarily a struggle, but definitely when it comes to breathing, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, for example, when I was doing the Romanian Gypsy, for example, I would normally emphasize on words that I was not meant to emphasize because my breath was just inaccurate. For example, like it didn't have a pace, it didn't have a strong alignment, you know, it was just contra flow. It didn't make sense, you know. So I think for my dissertation, by using different accents, it was a challenge to find the breath into every accent, into every storyline. Obviously, it had different storylines. So
I also feel that the spinal roll, bringing that up again, I feel like that really helped because you do have to control your breathing when you're doing your spinal roll, and you also really need to be in control of how quickly you lift your body, how you're breathing when you lift your body, because if you're not breathing at all, or
too much,
or you're lifting too rapidly, then you do have the chances of either feeling dizzy, fainting, or just, you know. And I feel like the spinal roll really did help.
You know, with the breathing, I think, you know, Alexander's technique of sitting down, laid back, and do the breathing exercise. And obviously, the more you do it, the better you get at it, and then the more comfortable you get with it. And releasing sounds or the text in different ways or different accents, for example, at my dissertation, it helped me quite a lot, especially before every rehearsal, by doing this, because I didn't have the stress of I have a text to understand and to say, I have an accent to do, and I need to make sure that the audience understands me because I have an accent already with my own self. By doing the Alexander's technique, it released the stress first of all, but it allowed me to be more open, just like the spine roll.
Yes.
You know, so combining them two, your body is just ready to explore.
To go, yeah. I feel like, so obviously the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 song really helped, but also if you stand up so we can demonstrate. So if you put your hands on your stomach and you truly feel your diaphragm and do a ha, you feel your stomach jump, so you go ha, 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 ha. You feel it coming from your diaphragm, and therefore,
instead of your chest.
Yeah, it's not so forced on your chest, which makes it easier to control it, because you know it's more grounded when it's coming from your diaphragm.
I think it's more powerful when it comes from the diaphragm rather than the chest, and that's why, you know, the Alexander's technique.
Yeah.
You learn to breathe through your diaphragm and your belly, for example, instead of your chest, because especially when, for example, you're in a show and you know you're scared a little bit and you have all of these emotions, you tend to breathe from the chest, and that's why you have less air rather than the diaphragm, where you have more space, and then obviously it's more powerful than the chest.
Yes, when I first started 3 years ago, all I could do was breathe from the chest. I didn't know how to engage with my diaphragm, and yet 3 years down the line, I noticed that throughout shows, especially my final major project, The Wonderful World of Dissocia, it really helped me so much on stage, because I was literally speaking from my diaphragm and not my chest. Whereas there was one show where I got a bit nervous and I started speaking from up here, and it didn't have the same impact that it had on the other shows.
And it makes you a bit more conscious about it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think for me, with the breathing from diaphragm, obviously I didn't know it before since I came here. And I got taught it in the first year, didn't we? And I think it was, for me personally, I think it was more of a confidence issue, because obviously when you breathe through your diaphragm, you need to be relaxed. Your belly needs to come out, and not come out, but like your whole body needs to be relaxed.
It needs to be relaxed,
So I think at the beginning I was scared to explore it, and I would only do it at home, and even then I would be a bit insecure about it. But then after realizing the impact that it has onto the text, and the way you say your text is massive, and I think, like you just said, it's definitely a change. If you compare yourself to the beginning when we started and to now, understanding how to use our voices, it did impact a lot.
I'm going to do a quick demonstration of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 song, and you'll notice that throughout doing the song we'll be taking breaths that you don't notice you take, but that they generate from the diaphragm. They're not chesty at all, and because of that, it really helps sustain your breath throughout the whole song, especially because the rhythm just tends to get faster and faster and faster, which at times you could end up going 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and completely losing your words because they've dropped. You've run out of air. You're just squeaking until you've finished. So you ready to start? Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 5, 1, 2, 4. 4, 5, 1, 2, 4. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but you get it.
Yeah,
You really lost there.
You as I felt myself taking the breaths.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't think it's so audible. Is that how you say
Audible.
it? Audible. Yeah. I don't think it's so heardable like that.
Yeah. I think definitely by having your diaphragm engaged and relaxed at all times, because it can be hard to forget that your diaphragm is there and automatically just close it off and start from the chest. Really, really hard to do that.
For example,
very
like
easy
now,
to do that.
you know how we started it? I started with the diaphragm, but when I saw that, what was the next one?
Yeah.
I was like,
I became really chesty, yeah.
yeah.
And
you do it without knowing or wanting to. It's just an instinct.
you just need to know how to, if you do ever just come from the diaphragm straight to the chest, you need to know how to reverse that and go from the chest back to the diaphragm. You need to know a way of opening it up.
Putting
And I
yourself
feel like
back in.
if you don't have a moment to do that, then all you need is literally just one quick second to just breathe. And in that breath, just open up your diaphragm.
Changing
Know
it.
that it's not going to the chest and envision it go down to the diaphragm, and that really, really helps.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.